Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sandra Smith, and I'm the Sage Intelligence Product Specialist, and I'll be presenting today's webcast. And we're going to be talking about Beyond Financials. Now, Sage Intelligence is known for its financial reports. So we have the Financial Report Designer and lots of financial reports that can help you understand the finances within your company. However, there's other reports that are templates that we've built, and also we're going to talk about the connector module. We're going to go beyond the financial reports in today's webcast. All right, so I'm going to talk about the agenda first here, just to give a perspective of what today's webcast is going to be about. So, first of all, let's just get a little bit of the housekeeping rules out of the way. Everyone's muted. However, you can ask a question. Feel free to use the chat pane, the chat window in WebEx. There's also a Q&A window that you can use to ask a question. And I might not answer it right away during the presentation. I will if I see it, if I can answer it. But otherwise, I'll reserve a few minutes at the very end and I'll answer those questions. So don't worry about that. Now, we're making a recording of this. This is being recorded. So if you choose to share it with others in your office, or if you'd like to watch it a little bit later, you can. We will send you an email of the recording. The agenda for today is we're going to talk about those Sage Intelligence non-financial reports just briefly. We're just going to talk through them. But the bulk of today's webcast is going to be about the connector. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what the connector is, why it is, and what it does. And then I'm going to walk through a demonstration. And the demonstration really is how to use the connector, what are some of the features and facets of the connector. And then, for example, I'll be adding containers with the connection to the Sage ERP. I'll also be adding a new connection to another database, and then demonstrating how you can create a report from those containers that were built and those new connections. And at the very end, there's always important information. So there's very helpful resources that I'll be walking through, where you can learn more about Sage Intelligence. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the list of standard reports that come with Sage Intelligence. Now, this is the list of those reports that come standard with all Sage ERP products. So whether you are a user for Sage 100, Sage 300, Sage 500, maybe there's someone on the line that's using Sage 50 or Sage ERP X3. Typically, generally, the standard reports are going to include, of course, financials, your GL transactions, your financial trend analysis. However, we also include those that are not financial reports. So they might include financial information, but it's dashboard analysis, your customer sales report, your inventory report, and purchasing report. And then, of course, last on the list here is the report designer, the financial report designer that includes our in-memory technology that enables you to use that task pane or the layout generator to create your financial reports. Now, remember, that requires the report designer module. But we're going to be focusing on those standard reports, for example, dashboard reports. So let's talk a little bit about why would we use the connector, okay? What is the connector for? We're going to get right into what it is and how you would use it. So the connector, first and foremost, enables you to connect to other data sources in addition to your Sage ERP. So you only need one connector module when you use Sage Intelligence. So that's unlike Report Manager or Report Viewer. Those two are required per site. But for the connector module, you only need one. Some of you may have it. Some of you might be using the connector through your partner, and that's fine. Using the connector, though, if you want to connect to other sources other than your ERP accounting system. So maybe you want to make a connection to your point of sale Or maybe you have an in-house SQL database or Oracle database, or maybe you have another database in which you want to report from. So that's the back end that we'll be working with today. There are predefined containers that work with the reports in Report Manager. However, you may want to add containers that are currently not used by the standard containers that exist already in the connector module, those containers that are shipped with the connector module. You would need the connector module to modify or customize those containers. So for example, even if you want to make any changes, maybe you want to add a field to those standard reports I mentioned, the purchasing report or a vendor report. You see those reports and you say, you know, I want to add a field to that. You need the connector in order to modify the containers that those reports work from. So there also might be other modules within your accounting system that your Sage accounting system that you want to connect to and report from. So that's the reason you need the connector. If you're happy with your standard reports in Report Manager, those ones, like I mentioned on the previous slide, the purchase report, the inventory, the sales analysis report, your dashboard, your financial reports, if you're happy with those, they fit your business 100%, then that's great. You would simply use the Report Manager license that you're using and you're fine. However, the connector, again, just to review, is if you want to make a connection to other sources or you want to modify or customize the standard containers, in other words, add additional fields, add additional information. If you want to connect to multiple companies, or if you want to connect to other modules within your Sage ERP or Sage accounting system, then that is why you would use the connector. Okay, this slide shows one example. I have a couple of a dashboard. So this is another reason for the use of the connector. If you want to create a dashboard similar to this using additional sources of data. Now, this is the dashboard that we've built. It's an example of a dashboard. With a connector, you can create a dashboard report just like this one. And this one, again, is the Sage Intelligence Standard Report. So let's talk about what a dashboard is. A dashboard report gives you that real-time overview of the overall health of your company, of your business, and it's at a glance. It can display values in the forms of charts and graphs, and it'll show information from multiple sources of data. So you see you can consolidate your data. It delivers critical information in one particular place so that you can make better, faster, smarter decisions. It gives you a significant competitive advantage. So it's very easy to use. You can generate reports like these at a click of a button. Once you build them, you can simply save them and generate them at a click of a button. There's no copying or cutting or pasting data from these different sources. The data is pulled from each of the sources and pushed into Microsoft Excel in this dashboard format. And they're ready to be distributed. Those of you on the line who are new to Sage Intelligence, you can distribute your reports via email or FTP, or you can send it to a file. You can send it as an Excel format or a PDF. So you can schedule these reports, publish to the web, share by email, and all of that. So that's your dashboard. Again, it's flexible, so you can make changes as well to your dashboard. And here's another example. This is just another one. That Sage Intelligence Reporting 300 2016 version actually has two different versions of the sales dashboard. I'm just maybe some of you on the line work with Sage 300. Those of you that might be with Sage 100, you have different types of dashboard reports, but you do have a dashboard report. This is just an example. So this is, for those of you on the line working with 300, the dashboard analysis report template pulls information from the order entry module. It gives you a one-page summary of key performance indicators, or KPIs. And it features a financial analysis, top 5 reporting on customers, items, and expenses. So there's also the dashboard analysis AR report template, and that, of course, pulls information from the accounts receivable module. Again, you have a one-page summary, and it has your KPIs, your sales trend analysis, your top 5 reporting on expenses and sales reps. So each of these contain both text, graphics, that can help you with your long-term planning and your comparative profit and loss figures. And these are displayed for both a current month and year-to-date figures. So these are just ideas for and examples of what Sage Intelligence provides from a dashboard's perspective. Okay, so let's get back to the connector and talk a little bit about how the connector works, what it is and how it works. And the connector module is the actual point where your database connections are established. It determines what what kind of data is available for your reporting. So within your connector module, you've got your connections, you have your containers, and these define what database the report is pulling from. It tells the system where that database is, and then what tables, what fields and expressions you're going to make available to your report. Now there's a process. Okay, it's a very simple process, as you can see. So when you use the connector module, when you create your own connection and your own containers, you can include user-defined fields, for example. There's a very simple process. So whether you're creating from a table, a SQL join, or a graphical join, the steps are identical. So the first thing you need to do is add a connection. We'll start from the left. The connection to the database is where you want to pull data from. And the question that you need to ask is, where is the database? Where is the path? Do I need a user ID? Do I need a password to connect to the database? You'll need that kind of information to make the connection. It is very simple, but if you need an ID and password, that'll make a big difference. The second step is to add your container, and that allocates the table, views, or joins to that specific connection. And then once you add the container, the next step is you want to add the expressions. These can be selected as a field from the table, or maybe it's a custom SQL function, or maybe even a Microsoft Excel formula that's related to one or more of those fields. So it's a very simple process, and we're going to be walking through that process next. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the demonstration now. Give your screens a chance to adjust. And this is actually the Sage 100 ERP Intelligence Reporting 2015 connector module. Okay, now I'm going to briefly come down the bottom tray here, and I'm going to show you that, and you know, some of you, I mentioned the 300 reports. I actually showed the dashboard for 100. This webcast is not specific to any particular ERP. I just happen to be showing the 100 as an example. Sage Intelligence really looks very, very similar, almost identical across all Sage ERPs. The biggest difference being the structure of the database behind it. There might be a few changes between each, but stay tuned to the very end where I'm going to show you areas where you can learn more about how Sage Intelligence works with your specific Sage accounting system. Just bear in mind that everything I'm going to be showing you today, with the exception of database table names and things like that, those will be different, but everything's going to be identical with the exception of the specific database table names and so forth. So if I come down here to this R, that's the report manager. For those of you who are new to Sage Intelligence, this is the report manager module where you store your reports, where you run your reports from, using this button here where you can create your reports and so forth. But I'm going to minimize that again because this presentation is going to be talking about how you can go beyond financials, maybe build reports specific to your particular needs using the connector module. All right, so with the connector modules, you'll see over here I've highlighted the enterprise, the highest level. And when I double click, a lot of information unfolds. And these are all drivers. So this means that you can make connections on each of these to these particular databases. Okay, so you see Oracle, Access down here, even Excel. So you can make a connection to an Excel table if you choose to. Now we've used this driver here, and it's all ODBC, which is a compliance. It's just something that enables us to be able to make connections to any other ODBC type database. So we've done this here, and it still says Mass 90, but it is Sage 100. You'll see this for Sage 300, for Sage 500, Sage 50, Sage ERP-X3. We've made a connection to each of the Sage accounting systems that you work with. And here, if I double click, this is the actual connection that we've made. So you'll see the little link over here. This is the connection, and when I double click it, you see all of those containers I mentioned earlier. Now you'll see a few familiar report names. This is the Report Designer containers. All right, and then here's a container right here for our inventory report. We have our GL transaction containers, customer sales. So you'll see some familiar names here if you're familiar with the standard reports in Sage Intelligence. And this is what you can use to make a connection, all right, but also add additional containers. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to demonstrate how you can add a container from your Sage ERP or Sage accounting system, just one for one. So if I'm going to create a container from one table from my accounting system, it's really very easy. So what I'll do is I'll highlight this actual connection, and I'm going to be building one of these containers. So what I can do is I can either come over here to this button and select Add Data Container, or while it's highlighted, I can right-click and select Add Data Container. Now up pops a list of the container types. Now let me describe these for you. The first one I'm going to do is a table, and that just means that I'm going to pull data from a single table. I know the table I want to pull data from. I'm just going to use it for my report. Very simple. Now there's another option where I can use a SQL join. Now here's where you'll need to understand SQL or work with your partner who can create a SQL expression or SQL statement for you to join multiple tables, 2 or more tables. You can do the same thing with a view, and so you may want to check with your partner to see if there's a view or a query that you can use SQL to join multiple tables. I'm going to also demonstrate in a minute the graphical join tool, so you can probably do this yourself if you understand the tables within your Sage ERP or accounting system. And then there's a stored procedure. Here's the SQL query. So lots of choices for you to create a container using the Sage Intelligence Connector module. So the first one I'm going to do is table. I've selected it, select OK. And up pops a list of all my tables. Now, this is where it is a little different. So if you're on Sage 100, you'll probably be familiar with the list here. However, if you're in Sage 50 or if you're in Sage 300 or 500 or ERP-X3, it's just mere names that will be different. Now, we do have resources that give you the names of your tables, so you'll know which fields are in which tables. You'll simply see the list here, and you'll be able to find them on your own. Or you can, of course, this just explains how we do it, and your partner can help you with this. Okay, so these happen to be the 100 tables. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the AP Invoice History Detail table. Okay, so it's in alphabetical order, so I'll just slide down here, AP Invoice History Detail. There it is. So if I check that box, now I'm going to create a container from just this one table. If I select multiple boxes, and please never select all of them because you'll have one container per table here if you select all these boxes. So if I select multiple, I'm only going to have one container each per each table. So I'm going to select OK. There it is, one for one. AP Invoice History Detail, here's my container. I can change the name if I choose to, make it a little more descriptive of what the report is going to display. I can add a description here if I choose to. This is the connection ID, my table, and this is my source container. So I can change the name up here, but I'll know which source or which table it's pulling from. Okay, now I can double click this, and I don't have anything underneath it. Now I'm going to demonstrate here. I've got a customer sales container, and you'll see it happens to be a join. And if I double click it, these are all my expressions, we call them. Some of them are fields, all right, like this credit limit. That's an actual data field. This one here is an Excel formula. So you see we've multiplied quantity shipped times unit cost. Again, these are, you know, your fields and your particular ERP might be named a little different, but you can do the exact same thing across the board. This happens to be a SQL expression. So those of you who are familiar with SQL will understand this. Those of you who are not, your partner will be happy to help you create an expression name based on what type of value you want to see in your report. Okay, so I just used this customer sales container. It's for the customer sales report. Again, one of the templates within Report Manager. I double click that one. I'm going to go back to the one we're looking at. So now what I need to do is I have the connection. Okay, we have the connection here to our Sage ERP or accounting system. I added my container, and now I can either add expressions by selecting this button or again right-clicking Add Expressions. And again, we have choices. I can add an expression as a data field, or as you saw in the customer sales container, I can create a SQL expression, an Excel formula, and then a pass-through variable can be used as well, and we have more information on that on our community site. I'm going to just choose the data field. I'm going to select OK. Once again, it gives me a list of all the fields that are available in this table. And once again, if you're using Sage 300 or if you're using Sage 500 or ERP X3, then you would you'll have different names. You'll have different field names here, and of course different table names. That's okay. It will all be the same, and we do have resources to help you understand what these what fields are available and what tables are available in your Sage ERP or accounting system. So it's listing them not really by let's see, if I click on name, it'll list them alphabetically because I have a few that I want to choose. I want to choose extension and amount. I want to include that in my report. I want to include invoice number here, item code, and the description. I want to choose product line, quantity, let's see, quantity invoice. Where's that one? Right there. And then finally, I want to go all the way down to unit cost. I want to choose that one. I'm going to select OK, and there's all my lists. Now, as I highlight them, you see it's a simple data field. And I have all of these automatically checked, so if I want to view them, filter them, sort them, or even add a lookup for them, all of this is going to be explained in additional information within our community, but it just gives you more flexibility in how your report is filtered later on. So it's this is the expression name. I can change the expression name if I choose to. We recommend you don't change the name in the connector, but when you create a report from this container within Report Manager, you can change the name so that the name is a little bit more better understood by the user. So lots of flexibility there. So this just demonstrates how you can add a container and how you can add expressions. Now, just as I added expressions here to this container, you can come into existing containers and add expressions as long as the field or expression you want to add is within the tables that are joined within these containers. Now, for those of you who want to add a little bit more or a few more tables to these existing containers, I would check with your partner who can help you make changes to the SQL join here to include additional tables within this container. Okay, so we've added a container simply by adding one table, and we've added expressions to that. I can create a report now, and my report would include all the values that are contained within these fields. Now let's talk about how we can join multiple tables and do it relatively easily. So I'm going to highlight the connection again. I'm going to right-click, add a container. And this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the graphical join feature. So I'm going to click on graphical join. I'm going to select OK. I'm going to give it a name, and I'm just going to say my graphical join just so that we can understand what this one's for. It's my graphical join. All right, so I'm going to highlight it. It really doesn't give me much. It says, OK, you need your SQL statement. I personally don't know SQL, so what I'm going to do is show you how I would be able to do it using this tool, this very long button here. Click it, and there it is. It opens up that list of tables again for you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some sales information, so I'm going to slide down here to the SO, open this up some, SO sales order detail and sales order header. So if I have my SO sales order detail, there it is, and my SO sales order header, let me check these, sales order detail, sales order header, select OK, and there they are. So I can graphically see all of the fields in each of these tables. Okay, so you can see, and now what I need to do is I need to join them. And since it's graphical, I can easily select the fields, and you'll need to know ahead of time which fields can be used for the join, but I'm going to join them using the sales order number. So you see there's a little red line that's connecting each of these. And if I hover over this little graphic here, this little square, and right-click, you'll see that I have joined it using the sales order number to sales order number. Now I can remove it if I think, well, no, maybe I'm going to join it using a different field, or I can set the join type to inner, outer, full outer. Now this also is information that can be found in some resources that we have on the connectors to what an inner, outer, and full outer are, or you can work with your partner to help you create these joins and to understand your tables better. But that's what I've done. I'm going to leave it as an inner, I believe it was. And if I come down here to the bottom right, I select apply. There it goes. It creates that SQL statement for me, and it joins those two tables. Okay, so I've joined those tables using a particular field, and now I can go in and I can add my expressions. Highlight it, right-click, add expressions. Again, I'm going to just use data fields. It gives me the two tables that I have a choice in adding fields to, or from, I should say. There we are. So these are the two tables. So you see there's sales order first, and then, they're kind of the same. Sales order detail first, and then I scroll down sales order header. Again, if you're using 100, you might be familiar with these table names and expressions or field names. If you're in 300 or 500, you'll see all of the same functionality, but the table names, and the field names will be different. Okay, so now I'm going to add my fields, and I'm going to alphabetize them so I can find them quickly for you. So it's customer number. So we have customer number right here. Make that check. Your discount amount right here. I'm going to keep scrolling down. Extension amount. All right. And then item code, item description. Check, check. Order date, order status. So I just slide down. Order date, order status. Select OK, and there's my expressions. All right. Again, if you want to change the names of these, maybe you're a Sage 300 user and you do know these fields, but you do want to change the names of them, you can. But I recommend changing them in Report Manager. So that's the graphical join. I've joined two tables very easily, not having to know SQL. Now, but what I can do is, let's say I think of a field that I need, but I know it's in a third table. Well, I could go back to my graphical join tool. All right, so I clicked on the graphical join tool. I'll come down here to add a table, and all it does is simply bring up the list, and I think about that table name, and it's the sales order history detail. I look for that one, just scroll down, sales order history detail, there it is. I check that box, select OK. Now I've added the table, but now I need to make the connection. And in this case, I can do it, let's see, by AR division number, I believe, AR division number, and the AR division number. Did I choose the wrong? There's the AP division number. And those of you are shouting, it's not that one, it's a different one. I chose the wrong one. It's sales order header detail anyway. Sales order number, I can think I have a sales order number in this one, or a customer number. There we go. I'll just do it with the sales order number and apply it. There is another table that I can use the AR division number. Point being, you can add another table, you can make a connection between the three tables, and you know, you can keep adding more and more tables. It's going to get a little bit more complicated. That's where I would leave it up to your partner to figure out, but you can make the connection to very easily between your tables, between your fields, and you can get the information that you need. So it's very easy to add the information. The hard part is understanding your tables, and again, that's where your partner is going to come in very, very handy in helping you with this. All right, so let's say that I have made a connection here. I'm going to go back to my other one. So for example, this, well, I could use this one. If I want to check test it, I can. Let's see if it likes that SQL query. And it does, and notice the number of rows that it's doing. So it's saying that the check test succeeded. So maybe you change it from an inner to an outer, it doesn't really like that, or whatever that you put in your SQL statement or however you joined them. If it doesn't like it, if something's not going to work, it's going to tell you right here. So you don't have to go all the way to the step of creating a report and finding out later. So use this check test. And then what you can do is you have your expressions here. Then what you want to do is check test all expressions. And there it is, that's succeeded. And then finally what I recommend is coming back here to your sample data, clicking on your sample data, and it's going to give you the first, I believe it's first 50 rows, so not all of it, but it's going to give you your information so that you can see, and this is not just the expressions you've pulled, these are all of the expressions. So I'm not going to scroll all the way over to the right because it's going to take an awful lot of time for your screens to adjust to see them all. But here you can see your data, you can see each of your fields, and you can see what else you want to add. Now I had added that other table, and if I wanted to, I can go in and I can add an expression or a field from that additional table now, so I can have more than what's showing here. Okay, so that's adding adding containers within the connector that are related to tables and fields within your Sage ERP or accounting system. Again, it's identical across Sage ERP or accounting systems, with the exception of your table names and so forth. But I'm going to scroll down, and this time I'm going to make a new connection. I want a connection to my Access database. I happen to have it just here on my my hard drive, but here's the driver for Access. So you would simply highlight the driver. You can either add a connection by selecting this button, or right-click, add a connection, and I'm just going to say My Access Database, so we know what we're looking at. And that's the name of it. So everything that's, the fields are open. So if I had a server, I would be able to select this ellipse button and search for that particular server. You'll be able to do that. I can't because I don't have other servers here, but I do have it on my desktop. So I'm going to open this one. I'm going to go into my, I'm going to go into, it's already going to the file I need. I'm going to go to my .mdb, which is my database for Access. I'm going to open it up, and I can type in a user ID and password if it's required. It's not. So I'm simply going to select the Add button, and there's my connection. Okay, I've made a connection, but I have not made a connector yet. So let's, a container. So let me now right-click, add a data container, and again, I can use any of the choices. This time, I'm going to use a SQL join because I have one that's already written up. Again, have your partner write one up for you. I can say my SQL join. Again, you would want to describe the container more of what your report is going to be for. Is it a sales report? Is it a dashboard relating to sales? Is it a dashboard relating to something else? Is it an operational report? Type that container in here, or at least describe what maybe what tables you're using. Okay, so I've created my container, or at least the start of one. I need to type in the SQL code here. I just have it in this little notepad. I'm just going to copy it over. You too can do the same thing. Have your partner create it, and you can come in here and paste it in just like that. Select Apply, and there's my SQL join. Right-click, and I'm going to add expressions. And let's see, I'm going to data fields from my, let's see, I have several here. My customers, my products, salespersons. So I'm going to use 3 of them. And then now, let's see, I'm just going to use, I think these are alphabetical, maybe not. Okay, so I'm going to alphabetize them rather than going from table to table. And I'm going to start with, let's see, description. I want the customer and the salespeople's names, and let's see, maybe their targets, the unit, opening balance, and credit limit, for example. So let's see, where's the customers, extended amount? Okay, just use those. So there, I have added my Access database. I've created a SQL join just by simply copying in the SQL needed to combine all of those tables, and I've selected expressions from those tables. Now, just like any of the other containers that we have just created, I can now go into Report Manager and create a report from each of those containers. I'm just going to do it from one. So if I go to my Report Manager, and let's say I right-click, I want to add a folder. We'll start there. We'll just say New Container Reports. It's only for demo purposes. You would want to name it something different. Now I want to add a report. I have a choice to add a standard or a union report, and this just means that if I have a standard report, it's going to be a single report. If I have a union, maybe I want to do a dashboard, then I would first create my standard reports, then I would create a union report, and I would combine those standard reports that I wanted to use for my dashboard. Okay, so I'm going to start with a standard report, select OK, and I'm going to say my sales report, select OK. It says, all right, what for your sales report, what container do you want to use? Remember all of these? There's that AP invoice history table. Here's my graphical join, my SQL join. I'm going to choose my SQL join. These are all the fields that I included. Select OK. Now in my sales report, I have, you'll see to the right, all of the information, the properties of that report. You see all the columns that I added. And again, what I mentioned earlier about changing the name of the columns and the fields, here's where you can do that in your columns. Double click. Then you can click on the individual fields and change the name. Okay, so it's simply double clicking on your report, clicking on columns, highlighting your field, and you can change that field. So I have my report. I can add a filter to it or a parameter. We have information on how to do this in other videos and documentation on the website. So I simply run the report out. And what's happening is it's pulling information from those tables that I told Sage Intelligence which table to go to, what data to pull from. Sage Intelligence is pulling it, and it just pushed it to the report in Excel. So it pushed it to Excel. Now, this is our sheet 1. Remember, we built our non-financial report. We built our container, right? We're creating a non-financial report, or this even could have some financial information, obviously, but we created our container in the connector. We added the fields we wanted. We created our report in Report Manager, and it pushes it to the first sheet. And this is your source sheet. So you can change the name of this to short source sheet, and you can hide it. And then sheet 2, you leave for Report Manager. Because for Sage Intelligence and Report Manager, you might add a filter. You might add a parameter. We're going to store that information here, so leave sheet 2 alone. And now we can start with our formatting in sheet 3. Maybe we want to add a pivot table from our source information. So I'm just simply adding a pivot table, and here is my pivot table. I have my salespeople name, maybe my customer name, and I want to see the opening balance, and I can change this information. And we have examples of how to do, create a dashboard or a report. So I won't go through that, but it's basically using your source information here, and you can format your report any way you wish using Sage Intelligence and Microsoft Excel. So you can use 100% of Microsoft Excel in this report to make the report look the way you wish it to look, using Microsoft Excel formulas, lookups, however you want that information to look. But you will always have your source data here, and when saved to Report Manager, every time you run this report out, your source data will be updated because you've made a connection, you've added a container, you've told it where to Sage Intelligence to pull this information from, you've created your report. So every time you run that report out into from Sage Intelligence into Microsoft Excel, that updated information will be present. And if you need help creating the format of your report, please reach out to your Sage partner. Your Sage partner will be happy to build the format for you. We'll also be happy to make a connection. All right, so that concludes the demonstration portion of our presentation. And as promised, I have information. So if you go to sageintelligencecommunity.com, this link right here, you're going to find product guides, how-to learning videos, real-time and recorded webcasts such as this one. You can sign up for other webcasts. There's also forum discussions, so you can enter a question or read some of the other questions from others from around the world that's using Sage Intelligence. Sage Intelligence is made for or integrated with over 16 Sage products, so accounting systems and payroll systems and so forth globally. So there's a lot of people out there on the forum that can help you. If you want to learn more information on how to use Excel, all right, so maybe you've got that connection made, you've got that container made, you've got the report, you're pulling all of that data into your source sheet, but you're stuck. You want to learn more about how to use Excel formulas to format that information, we can help you. We have what's called Sage Intelligence Academy. Simply type in sageintelligenceacademy.com. and select your Excel on Steroids class. You can do the beginner, intermediate, or an advanced classes all together or one at a time. So I encourage you to check that out. In addition, we have tips and tricks for Sage Intelligence as well as Excel. So you can go to sageintelligence.com/subscribe. Subscribe to these tips and tricks. Just enter your email. We're not going to send you any other information using your email. We're going to send you these tips and tricks on how to use Sage Intelligence as well as how to use Microsoft Excel. So please check that out. And then finally, information on how to follow us on Twitter, how to follow me on Twitter and Sage Alchemix, but also my email if you have any questions. And yes, I do see a question here. You will get this copy of this WebEx most likely tomorrow or the next day, but you will get a copy of this. This is being recorded. And again, everything that we've demonstrated today is across Sage ERP or accounting systems. The difference, of course, being the very specific table names and fields. If you do not have a connector at the moment, there is the opportunity. If you need to do consolidations, or you want to do some more advanced reporting like this, talk with your partner. Please ask them for help, and they can give you a tremendous amount of help there. All right, so thank you, everyone. We appreciate you attending this webcast.